Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to talk about 4 ways to stay poor. Now, why ways to stay poor instead of ways to get rich? Well, our brain is better at finding problems rather than solutions. We instinctively are more affected by negatives than positives because that is what has allowed us to survive from a historic point of view. The people who are better at identifying threats have a better chance to last to the next generation. Through consistent effort to fix problems and to eliminate enough of them, you will succeed by default. Alright, first way to stay poor is to read a lot of books and do nothing about it, or rather, consume a lot of information and don't use any of it. One thing that I think is kind of tricky about our brains is that it tries to take as much time as it can to make decisions, but if you think about it logically, the only thing that would truly affect a decision is new information. I think our brain likes to wait because we might get newer information, which is true, but the end result is we actually don't end up taking any action on the information that we already have. It might be better to make a slightly worse decision now rather than no decision or no execution, and base that on, let's say, incomplete information, and later when you acquire new information, you can adjust the plan and adjust whatever the way that you're executing things. And just because that way is always better than doing no plan. Obviously, a perfect plan is always ideal, but a mediocre plan is always better than no plan or no action. Another way to stay poor is to avoid discomfort. In order to achieve a life that most people don't have, you must be willing to do things that most people don't want to do. What do most people avoid? They avoid expanding themselves out of their comfort zones, they avoid doing difficult things, and they avoid persisting through the most frustrating moments that make you want to quit the most. Now, just to share a little bit, I get a lot of motivational content through my feeds, and there's one I've been seeing recently, and it has this quote: "The moment when you want to quit is the moment when you need to keep pushing." The great successes are the people who push through these moments. Maybe another way to think about it is, let's say you have a large group of people and you assign each of them the same very difficult task. Now, because of the difficulty of the task, everyone hates doing it, but the result is that some of them end up not being able to do it, and some of them do. But you're going to look at the people who are able to persist through it as the people who succeeded and did what you wanted them to do. But this applies to any part of your life, whether it's your work feeling like it's getting more stressful, or trying to make time to fit in your workouts during the week. Successful people are the people who get it done despite how they feel in the moment. All right, the next way to stay poor is to start tomorrow. The best way to stay poor is to take your goals and aspirations that you really want and decide that when you're going to start them is going to be tomorrow. One thing I'm realizing more and more is that time is one of our most valuable resources, and it's something that all of us are granted by default, and it's our responsibility to allocate our time properly. Okay, so on any given day, we probably sleep, 7 to 9 hours of sleep, maybe 8 hours of work or school or something, and then maybe a few hours for eating, and that leaves us with maybe about 5 hours of discretionary time spending. This means you can use this time to relax and enjoy yourself, maybe play video games, watch TV, but this is also the only opportunity you have to start progressing towards goals that you have that others around you might not. So maybe this includes time that you work out, maybe it includes time that you're starting a business, some side hustle type thing. I know in the realm of success, it doesn't really necessarily make sense to spend all of those 5 discretionary hours on side hustling or whatever, because that would basically mean you're working 13 hours a day, and that might not be pleasant. But the difference between time and money and how it is spent is that time is going to be spent no matter what. Money, you can delay that, but time is passing whether you like it or not. Now, what we have is a choice on how the time is spent. Now, while I believe rest and recovery is very important to keep yourself mentally sharp, I also kind of have an underlying sense of urgency with time. Why do people delay something that they know they want to do? Is it because they have a fear of not knowing what they're doing or looking like a fool or something like that. Now, I actually have to admit something. I started this channel much later than I was planning to. I meant to start this YouTube channel at the very beginning of the year, but actually this next way to stay poor is what gave me this urgency with time. So this next way to stay poor is what I'm going to call the region beta paradox. And it's a phenomenon, and I recently learned this from a podcast clip between Chris Williamson and Joe Rogan. I'll let him explain it.
So I learned about this idea called the region beta paradox. Imagine that if you were to go a mile or less, you would walk it. And if you were to go more than a mile, you would drive it. Paradoxically, you would go 2 miles quicker than you would go 1 mile. So that means that sometimes worse situations can be better than better situations. And this is an issue when if you only decide to act after you cross a certain threshold of badness or whatever, you can end up being stuck in region beta. So for instance, the friend that should leave his job, but it's just about passable, his boss isn't that much of a dick, maybe the benefits are okay or whatever. Or the person that's in a relationship with someone that they really don't want to stay with and it's not that brilliant, but it's not that bad, they don't abuse them, everything's okay. The person that stays in an apartment that's got some mold on the ceiling, but it's not too much mold and whatever. All of these people would be better off if their situations were worse, because it would galvanize them into actually doing something. You understand what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
You can get stuck in this chasm of comfortable complacency that sits somewhere in the middle. If things are good, great, no problem. If things are bad, great, activation energy to go and make them good. If things are just about passable, you end up being comfortably numb.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah, that's not good.
So when I learned about this region beta paradox, I looked at my life. Things were kind of on track. I still have my job and I'm making progress towards my degree. I'm still making time here and there to have fun, relax and all that. But I also hadn't started this YouTube channel yet, and I know I wanted to this year, and it just hadn't happened. And I realized, well, if I didn't do something soon, then I didn't know when this YouTube channel would start. If I kept pushing it off maybe a few months from now and there was still no YouTube channel, no videos uploaded on this channel, that would have been a very easy outcome that could have happened because I was sort of in a path that I was comfortable. Things weren't bad enough for me to do something about my life. And when I thought about it that way, I thought, well, I think I am in region beta. I'm in region beta. My life is, okay. It's not where I want it to be, but it's not bad enough where I'm going to do something about it. Me realizing that made me script and post my first video that I released last week. And I also thought, well, when I envision 3 months from now and seeing no YouTube channel and no progress, that's something that really bothered me, and I did not want that to come true. So it gave me enough of that activation energy to do something about it. And even though maybe things aren't perfect in this channel, my editing or background or whatever clothes I'm wearing for my videos or the lighting, it goes back to my first point too, which is, yes, I don't have a perfect plan, but I just need to get started. I need to have some sort of plan. I'll adjust the plan along the way and make it better as I go. And so in order to avoid region beta, you really have to have your own self-motivation and push yourself, even though nothing about your circumstances is forcing you to do so. Anyways, if you found this helpful, please leave a like. And if you want to see more of my content, just subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you guys in the next one.